My name is DeVon Franklin, author of the book Produced by Faith, and you are watching Studio Q. Stay tuned. Don't touch that mouse.
Studio Q show. Now you know.
I don't define myself by either. I'm DeVon Franklin, who God made, you know? And I think what happens sometimes is we fall into the trap of this type of definition, you know, and then we start to try to live up to whatever this definition is instead of just focusing on being whoever God created us to be, you know? And so I've had those moments where I've wrestled, like, oh, am I this, am I that? I'm like, well, I am who I am, right. And I happen to do a number of different things in the gifts that He's given me, but I don't want to put that label on myself, right. Because in doing it, it becomes very limiting. So in the way that I've, you know, had to break out of any one particular label, I also encourage people to do the same, because you know, a label, while sometimes it's good because people can understand who you are, what you do, in other ways it can be very limiting. So you know, I try to just, you know, be who I am, and yes, I'm an executive, yes, I preach, yes, I write books and do all of those things, but I wouldn't try to put one above the other in that way, because then I think it would just be less than who God's called me to be. Paul's letter, you know, to Rome, you know, is to me one of the most powerful instructions of faith and really how to live out, you know, a Christian life, dealing with our own issues and the fact that we're flesh and that it's hard to be faithful. So that book of Romans in and of itself, I draw upon regularly because I find that there's a lot of power in it and a lot of just practical instruction. And so because that book is so faith-centric, it really got me thinking about my own faith walk and faith journey. And so while I was there in Beijing thinking about my own, you know, life of faith, God had me think about, you know, just that previous week and how I'd been all around the world, and it wasn't living a fast life that had got me that far. I was living a faith life. And so Romans really was the catalyst for that thought. And then from that thought came the idea of, that's it, you know, your path of success, our path of success is faith. That's the book, you know, it's not an obstacle, it's the path to it. No, actually the movie idea came after the book got set up. Oh. Yeah, most people don't know this. My original idea was called The Faith Lane. You know, because the path to success is the path that follows your faith, right? When I sold it and set it up with Howard Books through Simon & Schuster, they liked the content, but they said, oh, we don't like this title, The Faith Lane. So I said, okay. So I took it back and I started praying on, okay, God, what really is the idea? And I went back in my BlackBerry and I had already written notes years before that were the seeds of the Produced by Faith message, where I was equating, you know, us going and wanting God to bless us with the process for getting a movie made in Hollywood, with the process of getting greenlit. And so when I looked at those notes, I said, wow, Lord, you already had given it to me and I didn't even know it. So, you know, we scrapped the Faith Lane title, and once I went back to those notes, I said, okay, well, why don't we do the whole book as a metaphor for what I do, which is develop and produce movies. And that fit perfectly to try and help someone and the reader identify what their life was about. And then the title came because I was like, okay, well, who wins the Oscar? The biggest prize of the night is whoever produced the movie. So on the poster, it says produced by, and then the producer's name. And so whoever wins that night, those producers go up on stage and accept the trophy. And I said, what better testament to our life? So at the end of my life, you know, when I'm not winning an Oscar, but I'm getting a crown, you know, for having made it over, you know, the crown and what I win will then, how will I've got there? Well, it'll be because of my faith. So at the end of the day, Produced by Faith is my key to, you know, eternal success. Just incredible mentorship, incredible friendship. I mean, you know, there's a quote out there where someone says, like, you know, if you want to become great, you have to hang around those that are great, you know, and the idea of being able to even work with Will is just, it makes me better. because he's one of the best at what he does, and not because he's most charismatic or the camera loves him, but because he works so hard. So it's great that he has charisma, and it's great that he's great in front of the camera, but what he does when the camera's not rolling, all the preparation, all the study, and all the research, and all the things that he puts into being great, it's just infectious. So being able to be around him and learn from him has been awesome, and has totally made everything that I do, professionally and personally better. And so I'm always grateful that God would have thought to cast him in my story as much as I've been cast in his story. And then with Bishop Jakes, the same, but just on a different level. I've always been a fan of Bishop Jakes, and loved his word. And so the idea of being able to have conversations with him, be mentored by him, and to make movies with him is it's awesome. So I'm soaking it up from a ministry standpoint, and being around him makes me a better minister, makes me a better preacher. I'll dissect his word and say, well, Bishop, how'd you do this? And what'd you think about that? And he'll break it down for me, So I love that God saw fit to have these incredible ministers, these incredible mentors minister to me in different ways. Bishop Jakes in ministry, and then, Will in film. And the combination of the two, that's why I work so hard. That's one of the reasons, because I feel like, I can help them make their movies better, and I can be a part of the process, but I really feel that the way to say thank you is by what I do with my own life. To show that the things you all have poured in me, that this has been fertile ground, and the seed you planted, is actually growing, and let me show you how, and so even with doing the book, to me that was an opportunity to say, hey guys, look, I'm not where you all are yet, but I just want you to know that everything you poured into me, I've taken in, and I'm trying to make the world a better place, and here's one of the ways I'm trying to do it. Keeping the standard has nothing to do with those around me and what they do or don't do. Because the thing about Hollywood is there's a lot more people that are ethical than the media likes to portray. So it's not about those who are around me and the choices they're making. What happens is that when you have ambition, then you have a desire or a goal, and you're put in an opportunity which you believe will allow you to achieve that ambition or that goal. That's when the conversation about, well, what am I willing to do? In those moments when I feel like the opportunity is being jeopardized if I don't say a certain thing, or I don't, tell this person the full truth. That's really when the integrity issue comes into play. Integrity in a vacuum, yeah, everybody can have integrity. But when integrity comes to play with what you really want, and you're right in the middle of an opportunity that you believe can produce it or not, that's when it comes to play. And in moments, it is difficult. It's not difficult knowing what the right thing is to do, but it's difficult how to facilitate the right thing. Facilitating the right thing is not always yes or no. Facilitating the right thing can sometimes take some management and some thought about, okay, I know what's right to do. How do I convey that? How do I do that without offending this person? Without upsetting this person? Sometimes you have to say what needs to be said and let God deal with the rest. There are other times, where you do have to be thoughtful and mature about what God is calling you to do, and use the information and knowledge the way that He's given it to you, and the wisdom on how to relay what you may be feeling or what you may be thinking, and keep the integrity, but at the same time doing it in love and maintaining the relationship, if that's a relationship He's calling you to maintain. One of the movies that I remember around that time, I think this is around time you Do the Right Thing. I remember really responding to that film in a very powerful way.
And how did that help you cope?
Because it was escapist. I could escape as much as it was reality. I remember vividly being able to go to the movies and check out and really, immerse myself in a completely different world. In that world, in that process, and just being able to detach was very, very helpful, because it was like, wow, okay, you can find, a little bit of a healthy way to deal with the pain. There is rest, there is a respite, so to speak. And so going to movies was definitely a part of that process, and really helped me. And what it did is it captured my imagination, and I was like, okay, I got to figure out how to do that. Yeah. Because going in the theater, getting the popcorn, it was just like, man, I just was like, oh, I can't wait to go back.
Right.
I just lived for it. It was awesome. In the moment, I didn't recognize it. But in hindsight, yeah, it was very important. I mean, majority of my memories of my father, he was drunk. And in the moment when those things were happening, I understood that they weren't good things, but I never thought of him as a bad person.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, because what I understood is that, Dad has a problem, and he needs help for his problem. It's not that the character of who he was, the character of the man was wrong. Mm-hmm. It was that he had got caught up in some things that produced, these addictions. And so Mom not talking bad about him helped preserve, his image of father in our lives. And that was very, very important. So that when he ultimately, even before he passed away, he came out of alcoholism, and that was a blessing. We could still hold on to and embrace him getting back to who he really was. Mm-hmm. Because Mom always spoke about him as who he really was. Yeah. Never in the context of the problem that he dealt with. And sometimes, we can overlook the difficulty and the power of addiction. And because someone can't shake something in the time that we think they should, we then sometimes, sometimes are, in a good way, from a good place, but sometimes in a negative way, we get down on that person. Mm-hmm. And we say, why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? Or you're just this, and sometimes we just have to be patient and keep hitting them with love, 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 love. And eventually I do believe love will help anybody who's dealing with any sort of addiction come to terms with whatever it is and ultimately seek the help that they need. And that proved to be the case with my father, because he did get clean before he passed away. In Hollywood, it's like when you're getting an executive job, it's not like an application process. Your resume gets, sent around by people who know you and that kind of thing, and then you get called back, and there's a process to it, but it's not the traditional process. Exactly. So in those 2 weeks, in terms of the actual job process, there was really nothing to do outside of what I did. Was made a few calls, checked in, no word on anything. So I was like, okay, God, that means, just must be me and you, right. So you must have something planned. I don't know what it is. I didn't start that 2 weeks knowing what he was going to do. Again, in my limited mind, my prayer was, oh, bless me with a job in the 2 weeks, so I can then show people how good you are. Right. And when he really convicted me on this job search is really when I began to understand the magnitude of not just these 2 weeks, but all of the months leading up to the 2 weeks, which was an opportunity for me to get closer with him and for me to really not want anything in this business more than I want his will. I don't remember talking to anyone specifically about what I was doing spiritually. Mm-hmm. I talked to people about, leaving the job, and some people didn't understand why, and I would tell them why to a degree. I never revealed, ultimately what I was really on, which was a spiritual journey. And I talk to people like, oh, what are you going to do? Well, I'm not sure yet. I'm trying to figure it out, and, hopefully something will come. That was the extent, again, even in the book, I didn't even tell my mother. Right.
Where is DeVon?
That's right. So it was very apparent to me that what God was doing was between he and I. Yeah. And that it was not to be shared, because not everyone could understand it. And I didn't want to be deterred from what I believe God was convicting me to do, which was to step out on faith and to really try him and trust him and to see and to know, that he is not only there, but he has already provided the way. Mm-hmm. And I would have never understood it the way that I do now had I not stepped out on faith and continue to step out on faith. Living in faith is not comfortable. Right. It's not. He had to really break me down for me to get that message and receive it and to act on it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that I could be here today if I hadn't. I believe that he had written that into my story. Mm-hmm. I do. I absolutely do. And I'm just thankful that I was living a life where I was in position to receive that. Because I could have made choices along the way outside of his will that would have not allowed me to qualify for it. You understand what I mean? Yeah. Because think about it. If I had been living out of his will and doing things, the timing of Oprah, you got to get this, and the timing of the show, in the timing of God's blessings, there's a time to it. Independent of me, she and her network and the producers of the show had a need. They were looking for people, new voices for the show. And they had a production window that they needed to make, right? So that need was already produced. And if I'm not living outside of God's will, and let's say I say, hey, I don't want to do the book, Lord, because it's not what it doesn't fit into being an executive, then I disqualify myself from ever getting an opportunity to fill the need whenever the need arises. But when you're committed to God and you're committed to His process and you're living a life of faith, you allow yourself to be open to whatever God is going to do. So the blessing is that when they had a need, because I believe I was living the life He was calling me to live, I was in position and prepared to meet the need that only He could have created and that only He could have filled. She is one of the greatest to ever do what she does. You know, no one has the spirit, no one has the talent, the gift, the voice to be able to sit across, you know, from guests. You know, she's interviewed thousands of people and to make them feel so comfortable. And so being on set and taping the interview, as at first, as you know, as overwhelming as it was, it quickly became very, very comfortable because she created an environment for that. And it was great. I mean, we really hit it off. We had a great synergy.
Great interview.
Yeah, it really felt we were just really connected. And that.
She got you.
Yeah, she did. And I was like, wow, that was just the best feeling in the world. And so her getting me and really buying into the Produced by Faith message, that really helped create an environment in a spirit, you know, in an atmosphere for the interview to be very personable, very effective, and ultimately, you know, very powerful, especially by those who've seen it. You know, we just make it a priority. You know, we are outside of God. We are our number one priorities. So, you know, that just means, you know, when we're not together, you know, checking in, making sure that when we can be together, we are together. You know, if I have to fly to her, you know, if she's shooting, I'll do that. I mean, even during Sparkle, before we got married, you know, she came to set when I was doing Sparkle. It's about making each other number one priority. You know, we pray together, we study the Word together, we talk, we email, we text. I mean, we just stay connected. That's the thing I think that people forget. You know, you think, oh, well, when you love someone or when you're in your profession, it's supposed to be easy, right? No, you have to commit to the work. And the choice that you make in your commitment ultimately will be produced. So when we commit to each other and we've made the decision, okay, we love each other and we want this marriage to be amazing, every day you have to then work at it being amazing. You know, so that's how we've been able to do it, and just, you know, and also since we just got married, I mean, part of it has been really locking down the foundation of our marriage, and you know, which is unfortunately required. You know, we haven't had as much time with our family and friends as we would like, but they understand.
Yeah.
You know, they really understand.
Oakland or LA?
LA. Even though I love Oakland, but LA.
Handprint or Overbrook?
Oh, you know, Handprint doesn't exist anymore, so Overbrook, of course.
Favorite episode of The Cosby Show?
Oh, man. Probably a tie between when Lisa designed Theo's sweatshirt.
Gordon Gartrell.
That's right. There's 3 episodes. That one, the Jamming on the One with Stevie Wonder. Jamming on the One. And the one, I love when they both did the 2 episodes when they did lip sync.
Oh, okay.
You know, where they did Ray Charles, you know, nighttime is the right time, you know, to be with the one you love. You know, that was, they when they lip synced that was just like,
classic.
That was classic. So, sorry, it's not one. Those are 3.
Tony Dorsett or Herschel Walker?
Herschel Walker.
On set or in the pulpit?
Ooh, man, why are you going to do that to me? No. I guess in the pulpit. That's hard. In the pulpit. Yeah.
USC Trojans or the Dallas Cowboys?
Trojans all the way.
Smith or TD Jakes?
Both.
Okay.
They choose one or the other.
Remake of The Karate Kid or remake of Sparkle?
Both.
Ooh. Early mornings or late nights?
Early mornings.
Guilty pleasure?
Ooh, man. Lucky Charms.
What sound or noise do you love?
Horses galloping.
Sound or noise do you hate?
Chalk on, whatever, the chalkboard.
Describe the following people with one word.
Okay.
Megan Good,
It's amazing.
your mom Paulette,
Wow. Wow, awesome.
Will Smith,
A dynamic.
Oprah Winfrey,
One word. Incredible.
Whitney Houston,
Legend.
TD Jakes,
Powerful.
Glendon Palmer,
Buddy.
Pastor Torre,
Oh, man. Both Glendon and Pastor Torre, like, just best friends.
Tracy Edmonds,
Oh, man. Just, wow. I mean, Tracy is like Grace.
Donald Ray,
Brother.
Senior,
Oh, senior. Well, you said Don Ray. I'm like, my brother, not dad, First word missed.
Jesus,
Man, everything.
DeVon Franklin.
One word.
You said that you don't have to put limits on yourself, so you could have said as many words as you wanted to.
I'm trying to be,
don't have to-
respectful of the prompt here,
Leave the rebel in reverse on the floor.
I can't. Oh, man. Work in progress. That's what I would say.
I know.
Work in progress. That's what I say. That's for me, work in progress.